there are two ways to really look at this, that the stage is being prepared for the next leadership level at Infosys, leaders like Sandeep Dadlani, Manish Tandon, Ravi Kumar. But the other way to look at this is really that external candidates have a very strong chance now for the top job at Infosys. How would you interpret it?
No, I think there has to be a combination of senior leaders and any external leaders. You can't bring in just an external leader without anybody there. Please remember, one entire generation, BG going, an entire generation of leaders has been wiped out. While the next level, like Sandeep, are good people, they don't have enterprise experience. They never run an enterprise before. They run a unit. And in a unit which is very sheltered, where many things are done by many other people, the interaction with various units, looking at enterprise strategy, enterprise execution, is a different ball game. BG Srinivas has done this, and Ashok Vemuri had done it, Bala had done it, they're all done it. Now you lost the whole of them, there's a vacuum. Even if you get a new person to make a 150,000 person company work and come to listen to you, I think is a very tough call. I think Narayana Murthy, something that Narayana Murthy has to look at very seriously. And Naran has to keep his flock together. If all the senior people go, the collective experience and knowledge of those people is immense. It will be a vacuum, and I'm not sure whether NRN is totally aware of everything that's happening in the company, because he has been out of action for more than 10 years. So I think BG going is a big loss. Ashmurthy led, Bala led, BG was the last of the generation, is a big loss. And sadly, I mean, as a chief mentor of the corporation, NRN should have mentored the next generation of leaders, kept it together. You were the chief mentor for many years. And as chief mentor, when you see people going, I don't know what is the value of that chief mentorship. Hello?
So are you saying Narayana Murthy really failed in his role to develop a next set of leaders? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying it emphatically now that Narayana Murthy has failed in his job to develop the next set of leaders, because apart from the founders, there's a fourth generation of leaders have left the company in 30 years. Fourth generation of leaders have left. He has come back from the past. Everybody welcomed him. All of us wanted him. But after he came back, a new generation of leaders have left. I mean, these are people who work in the company for 10, 15 years. And I think it's a total failure of the entire leadership process and of the leadership of Narayana Murthy, that is nobody left within the corporation. And a new generation has to come up. There are four generations that are left since 1994 when I joined the company. And I think something that he has to answer everybody. He has to answer for this, because I think, remember, this India's marquee company. It's one of the best company India has, known for leadership, for standard setting, known for the quality of people. You can't have four generation of leaders leave in 30 years, in about 20 years, and then say that you are a great leader. I mean, this is a failure of leadership, totally a failure of leadership. BG going, I think, is shocking.
Mr. Pai, that's a very strong statement coming from you, that it's a failure of leadership, failure of Narayana Murthy, and that now he's answerable as to why there have been so many exits. But talking about the exits themselves, as you mentioned, 3 board level exits in the last 1 year and 10 others at the senior levels. What does this really mean? And it started after Narayana Murthy came back. Does it mean that he started really cracking the whip, which is why these leaders have resigned? Or is there a deeper problem with Infosys which people are missing? Because BG Srinivas leaving today is clearly very destabilizing. He was seen as the de facto contender for the CEO post. So what do you really think is the core problem at Infosys today?
I think the core problem at Infosys is a lack of strategy, a lack of an effective board and make sure the leadership is available there. And I think the failure of Narayana Murthy as a leader to groom the next generation. I mean, we have to accept the reality situation. All of us wanted Narayana Murthy to come back, and everybody is happy that he has come back. After coming back, he must stabilize the leadership, and you can't go after people. Yes, of all the people who left, it's quite possible some 20-30% were not pulling their weight. They're all come up, and it's expected that some people will have to go. But a person like an Ashok, a person like a PG, a person like a Bala, and many other people, Kakal, they're all leaving. I mean, these are good people. They run the enterprise at the enterprise level for a number of years. I mean, it's like an entire generation leaving. There's nobody left at that level who has run the enterprise, has seen the enterprise. And that is what worries me now, because I was one of them who supported Murti, wants Murti to come back, and knowing the company, I'm really today I'm feeling very sad at the way my company has been run in the last 2 years. And I do hope, I don't know what the board is doing. The board has to answer the shareholders as to what are they doing about leadership. I mean, you just cannot take away an entire generation, get somebody from outside to run the company, because it's very difficult to make it work. The next generation are very good people, but they require 2 or 3 years to understand enterprise. Enterprise is very different from a unit. Being a unit head is very different from running an enterprise, having a look at the entire level. And, I don't know how many more people will leave. So, but BG going, I thought BG at least will stay. Ashok going was pretty bad. Bala going was very worse. Now, BG going, the last of the time which was there in 2011 when I left, with their going, I mean, just look at it this way. We have a set of founders. Of him, the great icon is come back because his leadership legacy did not work. Now, the next generation has left. So, what has been the leadership development for the last so many years ago? Somebody has to answer all shareholders as to what is the strategy, what are they trying to do, how are they going to create a layer of leadership. They have to answer. I see no answers either from the board or from the chairman, and that worries me.
Right. Mr. Pai, you're not just a former board member, you're also a shareholder of Infosys. So if you have to ask Mr. Murti 2 tough questions at the AGM next month, what would they be from a shareholder point of view?
Now, from a shareholder point of view, I would like to ask him as to what is strategy for leadership, as to what is the strategy for leadership for the corporation for the next 5-10 years. And 2, along with that, what is the retention strategy? And then 2, why has he failed in the last so many years to develop a layer of leadership after the founders, some of whom are not pulled their feet and can be seen in the last 3 years, despite being the chief mentor for 10 years. He's been chief mentor for 10 years. Being chief mentor is not easy. He has to answer everybody. Say, why has there been a failure of a great industrial icon? And how are we reassured with him at the helm for the next 3 years, things are going to be all right? And also, I would like to ask the board, on behalf of all the shareholders, what is the board doing in all this? The board was a party to putting in place a set of CEOs who didn't perform last time, who were the last of the founders. Now we're seeing many of them go, so many people go, and the board owes an explanation on leadership to how they're governing the company on behalf of the shareholders. For the shareholders, they want explanation.
Right. Mr. Pai, you were one of the people who vociferously said that Narayana Murthy should be brought back last year, I remember. Now that Murthy is back, things are not going well. Do you think it's time for another co-founder to return? In recent months, there has been a chorus over Nandan Nilekani. Now that he's lost the election, he's at a loose end as far as politics is concerned. Do you think it will really help to bring back another co-founder, or are we, relying too much on the founders and not really creating a leadership bench below that?
Well, I think, look, my faith in Murti still remains despite this setback. Because, my faith in him remains. He's a great person. Despite all this, he owes an explanation, and he must explain to people what is it in mind, what is he trying to do, and how he's going to develop a leadership layer. My faith still remains, and I think the fact that he has not developed a layer of leadership or non-founders is certainly a failure by all accounts, and he has to explain to everybody. That remains. But my faith in him still remains. And I would think it will be great to have Nandan back for the next 2 or 3 years to work with Murti to stabilize the new leadership level, whoever it is, to help them stabilize. Because, you are in a competitive environment. The world is not staying still. You have not had 2 or 3 good years. You've got bad years. Very senior management is left. People are dispirited. So you've got to have maybe somebody like Nandan. And Nandan has done very well to work with Narayana Murthy to come back and stabilize, because being a founder of Infosys, Nandan also has an obligation to the shareholders of the company and 150,000 employees to give back something to the company after he has left. The company has given him so much. I think it's time for him to come back, work with Narayana Murthy, put a new team in place for the next 2-3 years, and then hand over to them. Then maybe he can say his final goodbye. I think it's a moral obligation on him to do that. The board agrees. I hope the board looks at it seriously.
Right. Mr. Pai, also, what does BG's exit mean as far as the CEO search process is concerned? Do you think he anticipated that, he was no longer in the shortlist, or does this mean that we can expect an announcement very soon, say, even before the AGM next month? Is that the reason why we are seeing his exit, that perhaps the nominations committee or the board has already made up its mind on the next CEO?
I don't know. I'm not privy to how the company is functioning. I'm not privy to the nomination committee. Frankly, I really don't know. I don't know what is in BG's mind. But all I can say is BG is one of the top people of the company. He had a good track record of performance. Yes, in the last 1 or 2 years, he has not done well because you've not seen much change whenever he did it, yes. But that could be because of many reasons. It could be lack of empowerment, the power structure not working out. And I would like to give him the benefit of doubt because he put his 100%, the company to make it work. So I would like to give him the benefit of doubt, and especially when the board has been soft on other founders who did not perform properly. So, to take it out on BG is something that's not done. I'm very anguished at the fact that BG is the last of that generation. I'm anguished that he has left. I don't know why he has left. Maybe he felt that he's not going to get a chance at Deco into the CEO, and maybe he has left, or maybe he's got a fantastic offer. It's got nothing to do with the company. He's got a fantastic offer outside to head a company or something like that, and he didn't want to give the company. The CEO thing was taking too long. I don't know. But I think the company has to talk to shareholders and write to them and explain to them, especially after Narayana Murthy reported in the media, sent a mail to everybody talking about the great first year he has had after his comeback. I think to have BG go is something I think very disturbing, and I just want to say that I'm disturbed, I'm anguished. My trust in Narayana Murthy still remains because he's a great person, an icon, and everything like that. But I think he should tell everybody what is in his mind, what he plans to do.
Right. Mr. Pai, also, from the perspective of a former board member, someone who knows Infy very closely, what do you think is the medicine that Infosys needs now? Will it be an internal leader who will be guided and mentored by Narayana Murthy, possibly with Nilekani coming back? Or will it help to really have an external candidate who's really proved himself as a very powerful business leader outside? The need to bring in fresh blood in the company. What do you think is the medicine that Infosys needs today?
I think the first medicine is to stabilize senior management to make sure that no other senior person leaves. And for that, I think there has to be communication, bonding, and a much better level of empathy with everybody who's there. And I think that's very, very important to do. I think that's extremely good to stabilize because there's been so much of change, so much of churn. I think there needs to be great stability, and I think that's extremely important. And the second thing that needs to be done is to talk clearly about what they plan to do and not keep it a mystery. Not keep it a mystery, because I think with BG going, things are heating up. Nobody knows what is happening, and I think it's very important for people to do something. So I think there's a need for communication, there's a need for stability, there's a need for keeping the flock together so that morale doesn't go down. Because remember, it's an operating company. It's not done well in the last 2 years. People are very anxious, and seeing senior people give is obviously demoralizing to everybody.
Right. Last few questions really, Mr. Pai. Just want to understand what is the road forward for Infosys from here on. After Mr. Murthy's return, people thought that, it will only be a few quarters before they return to industry-leading growth rates. But Murthy, in his letter to employees last week, said that it will take some more time for it to yield results. Meanwhile, we've had all these exits happening. So do you think Infosys for the next 2-3 years, has to contend with growing below the industry because of all the internal distractions that it's seeing? Do you think that's a price that it's going to have to pay not just this financial year, but the next financial year as well?
No, I think Murthy has clearly asked for 3 years. So 3 years are not up, only 1 year is up. And I think, he has clearly articulated what it is. Yes, the company still has it within itself to grow and to do very well. So you don't write off the company because the company still can grow. And there's a great leadership at the level of Sandeep Dadlani, Sanjay Jolona and everybody, and Ravi and everybody else. There's a great leadership. It's just that they require a couple of years to be at the C level, or to try the C level, because they've not been at the enterprise for some time. I mean, that's my knowledge. So I think there's a gap, and I'm losing people at this critical gap. Means the load on the top will be enormous. And I think you must remember that I have a 67, 68-year-old person who has been out of operation for 10 years as a full-time person, not in charge, coming back, trying to rectify with the entire set of 15, 20 people who is to help him run a giant corporation, not there, and nobody else to fill the breach. So the load on him will be enormous, and hopefully if Nandan comes back, and I think he has a moral obligation to go back to the corporation now, I think, it could remedy the situation, but there's quick action.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Pai, for joining us today. As you said, it's something very shocking and possibly a very destabilizing move for Infosys. Clearly a big development for Infosys, very destabilizing move. Now there is call for Nandan Nilekani to return after a year after Narayana Murthy returned. We don't know if that will happen, or has BG Srinivas resigned, because Infosys has already made up its mind as far as the next CEO is concerned. So we'll really have to wait and see what the reasons are. But this is clearly a big blow for Infosys.